it was a fire lit inside me. And this is where I would say like divine intervention, like a calling, like God was like, all right, you have to do this. I just knew that I couldn't let another child, another family have this happen to them.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I am your host, Cliff DuVernois. Today, we're going to go in a little bit of a different direction. Usually, we talk to business owners or nonprofits, but today's story is a little bit different. And I'm going to warn you right now that today's story is going to be a little bit tough. So if you've got any kind of, sensitive issues or anything, especially when it comes to child welfare, you might want to skip this one because today's interview is going to be tough. But her story is so compelling, and it is something that I personally believe that every parent out there needs to hear because, believe it or not, it affects every child, not only in the state of Michigan, but across the U.S. So with that being said, a handful of years ago, there came this thing out that's called All About Wyatt's Law. And today I actually have the woman who spearheaded Wyatt's Law on the show today to talk about the history and to share her story. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Erica Hammel McLaughlin. Erica, how are you?
Hi, Cliff. I'm great. How are you?
I am doing awesome. Thank you for asking. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up?
So I live in Clair Shores, Michigan, and that is about, it's just a suburb of Detroit. I'm literally 15 minutes north of downtown Detroit. I grew up in Grosse Pointe Woods, which is basically next door to here. I've always lived in the east side, love being close to the city, but also, Lake St. Clair is 2 minutes from my house, so I love being close to water. I've lived here my whole life.
Nice. And did you go to college? Any place
So
like that?
you know, my to make a long story short, my plan was to go to college. My mom passed away when I was 16. My mom passed away when I was in high school, and
Okay.
it that had a really big impact on me. I had
Imagine
gotten
it
into
would.
Yes, I had gotten into Michigan State. I went to Michigan State for a hot second. It was too much, too big. I decided to leave. I did a little more school here, and then I just decided that college wasn't for me, and I decided to work full time. Would have never thought that I would be that way, but that just was the way things happened. So yeah.
Certainly. And then at some point in time, you met your first husband.
Yes. And I think that's part of the reason also I was married very young. I met my ex-husband when I was 18. We were married when I was 22, which, it's this day and age that's so young. And
Right.
my aunts and uncles were all married in their early 20s. My parents, and but yeah, it's just I I definitely, I was I had a lot of life happen to me when I was 16. Like I said, losing my mother and everything
Yes.
that came with that. And, I think some of that maybe made me, want to settle down a little sooner, find kind of like, I don't want to say fill that empty void I had, but maybe,
Have a family of your own.
have a family of my own. Yeah, exactly. And I knew always wanted to be a mother. I had the best mother, and I wanted to be a mother always since I was a little girl. So yeah, I mean, right off the bat, like I said, I was married at 22 years old, and my I married in my church. I married, but everyone thought my husband at the time was great. Never thought I would end up in the situation that I did.
Certainly. So you went ahead and you've got married,
Hmm.
and then God blessed you with a child.
Yes, God blessed me with a child. He was a planned baby. My husband at the time and I knew we wanted kids. And I always told people I had this vision of having 3 children before I was 30. And then I would be good to go, like then I've had kids young, and, I certainly that was my plan, but that's that's not what happened, obviously. But yeah, was married in 2010, and Wyatt was born October of 2012.
But at some point in time, things just weren't working out with your husband and you split?
Yeah. So it really happened out of nowhere. I would say, so like I said, Wyatt was born October 2012. Um my husband at the time in February just picked up and left. Um he I, I he would say I was trying to find myself, fatherhood kind of hit me hard. I don't know what to do, and I would encourage him to come home, and he never would come home. And you know, I was very young and naive, and I was giving him all this space, probably way more grace also than I should have. But I was, over the next couple months, it wasn't getting any better. And I have brought up an affair. If you or were you having an affair, and he denied it, denied it, denied it. And again, I'm just writing this thing out, and it ended up we're now in like the spring of 2013. I had somebody randomly I went to high school with on Facebook message me and tell me that she snapped pictures of my ex-husband in a bar with kissing some other woman. I didn't want to file for divorce. I wanted him to, because he was throwing away the marriage, but I just had to do what I had to do. And once that happened, he all of a sudden got even more nasty. Wanted to be in Wyatt's life, wanted to take Wyatt when he had been just gone for months. The woman my ex-husband was seeing, who he had an affair with, I heard some rumors. The rumor that really struck me was that she did not have custody of her own children. And it didn't really make sense to me, because when I would drop Wyatt off with his dad, she would be there and her kids would be there. Her 3 children were there. So I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense, but it's just stuck with me, in that feeling, that mother's intuition
Right.
that something
Yes.
wasn't right. And again, Wyatt's just a baby. And, I'm dealing with all sorts of things. I'm dealing with the fact that I just became like an overnight single mom, and knowing, it's so frustrating knowing, like I said, like I felt like I did everything right in life. But again, I could not stop thinking about the woman, and her name's Rachel. I tried during that summer, we had our custody hearing, and I tried to pull up everything I could on her. I Googled her name. I searched her on Otis, which is the offender tracking information system, which would basically see if she had served prison time. I searched her on the sex offender registry. I definitely I didn't have her birth date. It's 2013, so I feel like I mean, back then I was not even like as that social media tech savvy. She had a common name. Bottom line, I went in front of a referee, and I wanted to prevent overnight visits, from my ex-husband having him overnight, just because I didn't trust her. My ex had, obviously the, right to have time with him, and they gave him overnight visits. So here we are, summer of 2013, and basically we had like a 60-40 split, but Wyatt was getting overnights with him, and at that point I felt like I did everything I could, and at this point I just had to trust that his dad would keep him safe. And I had to reevaluate my life and try to figure out how to start life again as a single mom,
Yes. Yes.
as like I said, my baby who's not even one yet. I have to be away from him, and I can, I try telling that to any mother who just has a baby. It was terrible. Everything about this was terrible. And I felt like as I was just starting to kind of find my way and get used to things, unfortunately, November 1st, 2013 came around, and what happened on that day was I didn't have Wyatt. That was his dad's weekend. It was a Friday. So I got a phone call very early in the morning, and it was from my ex, Wyatt's dad, and he said that Wyatt was being rushed to Children's Hospital. He was breathing funny. That's all he said. And I was like, did he have an allergic reaction? Did what's going on? And my ex just said, I have no idea. I'm at work. I'm going to the hospital right now. And then who was he with? Who was he with? Wouldn't answer my question. I remember I hanging up the phone, and I remember my body going into like, it just started to shake. It was just like I was panicking. Brother came and picked me up and went to the hospital. I walked in the ER doors, and I was stopped by a member of the neurosurgery team. And they introduced themselves, and they said, Erica, we have to tell you something. Your son's about to be prepped to go into emergency surgery. And he's very critical right now. He suffered a massive brain bleed, and we are almost 100% positive it was due to non-accidental head trauma, which is also known as shaken baby syndrome. Just from the preliminary scans, they could tell, and then they were able to obviously prove with more testing. But I literally, I just fell to my knees, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was literally, my worst nightmare had come true.
You go into the ER, and then someone from like, the neuroscience team.
Neurosurgery.
Yeah,
Surgery,
neurosurgery. I mean, wow, this is like a long gap between like, hey, he fell and stumbled and, skinned his knee or something. I'm just trying to fathom, like, you walking in there and saying, hi, I'm with the,
Yes.
the neurosurgery team. What?
That's exactly, I think that's a perfect way. And, no one's ever actually commented on that, but it's so true, because you plan to be actually escorted to the bed that he's laying in right away, because you think,
Right.
Okay, but instead I'm stopped because my son literally, he essentially, his case came into the prosecutor's office as a homicide because they were not expecting him to make it.
For our audience, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk a lot more about Wyatt's road to recovery, as well as the law that's passed to protect us all. So we'll see you after the break. Hey, if you are enjoying these great interviews, just take a moment and go to totalmichigan.com/join, and you can get these episodes sent directly to your inbox, because there's a lot more great stories coming. See you there. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we talk to ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff DuVernois. Today, we are talking with Erica Hammel McLaughlin, the person who spearheaded Wyatt's law, the law that's protecting every child and every parent out there. Erica, before the break, is that you said that that this case had already been referred to a prosecutor as a homicide.
Yes, and I didn't know this then. I found out that after in court proceedings.
Was there a lot of not expectation that Wyatt was going to survive?
Yeah, absolutely not. Anybody that you can talk to, my CPS, to prosecutor, detectives, they all will tell you Wyatt was not expected to make it. And like I said, they don't, when you're obviously when you're a parent at the hospital, the child's still alive, about to go in surgery, they're all they can say is that he's critical, he's in the best place possible.
Yes,
we're gonna do everything we can. And that's a good thing to me, because I wouldn't want to be like, hey, I don't, they don't know, but they were very adamant about going to go see him before surgery to give him a kiss. And it was tough. And it's even more tough because when a case of child abuse or suspected child abuse comes into a hospital, the hospital, because they're mandated reporters, have to call the police and they have to call CPS.
Yes.
So instead of being able to sit with my family, I was pulled into another room to be interviewed. I've always had a really positive experience with CPS. They were just doing their jobs. When the police got involved, they then told me the bomb that essentially this was what my gut was feeling, that I didn't have proof or no, and that was that Rachel, who hurt my son, she had been charged and convicted. That's very, very clear. Charged and convicted previously of child abuse. So she, in 2011, had been charged and convicted of a third-degree child abuse charge, which is a felony. She only received probation and fines. Again, probably why I couldn't pull her up on Otis, because she never served prison time. She then was charged and convicted on a fourth degree, which is a misdemeanor, but the fourth degree was for drugging a child with her antipsychotic. And she hurt other people's children. So that sentence was given to her, probation and fines on that fourth degree charge, 10 days before she got her hands on Wyatt.
Oh, sweet Moses.
But still, like, it's so crazy to me, knowing what I know now, about her history, and the mother of the other little boy that she abused. Her name's Christine Cadlitz, and Christine ended up, I'll talk a little bit about, she ended up joining my cause and kind of helping push for this, because Rachel was just is a monster. She is just somebody that should have been locked up a long time ago. Like I said, we were at Children's Hospital in Detroit for 7 weeks. Loved Children's Hospital. They saved his life. We call him Wyatt the Warrior. Literally, the name Wyatt means war strength or warrior. So Wyatt was always a smiley, happy baby. And there was a period of time in the hospital where he was just staring off into space and not happy. But like a few weeks in, he started to get his smile back. Wyatt was in the hospital for 7 weeks, and then he was released, and CPS had to do an investigation. We had to go through a trial of termination. They filed a trial to terminate my ex-husband's parental rights on failure to protect. But here we go with, as our system is very backwards, the judge at that time chose to not terminate my ex's parental rights, even though he clearly failed to protect my son. So he could have had the opportunity to get back into Wyatt's life. He did not. He still has not, and that's been for the best. But once that happened, then finally that following June, she got arrested. And she was charged initially with first-degree child abuse. And it was then, again, so many court dates before you can get things rolling. And I was asked, I was told that she was going to possibly be offered a plea deal, and how I felt about that. And at first I was like, no plea deal. I don't think, that should happen. Throw the book at her. But then I thought about case a long time ago, the Kaylee Anthony case in Florida.
Yes.
And all I could think about is how that mother got away with it. And I said to myself, I cannot let her get away with it this time. So the plea deal was a second-degree child abuse charge with a sentencing guidelines of up to 10 years in prison. I was told she'd be guaranteed prison time. And so just to know that she would guarantee serve prison time, even though it wasn't the prison time I wanted her to serve, was something. She was sentenced 33 months to 10 years behind bars. 33 months for what she did is just nothing. 10 years is nothing, but she ended up serving 5 years. But through this all, like I said, I kept thinking about how the system failed my son and how she had that criminal history of child abuse. And how was I not able to pull that up? That's all I kept thinking about.
Yes.
And I thought about the sex offender registry a lot, and I was like, okay, people that sexually abuse children have to register. So why? That was my initial going into this, was I wanted to create a child abuser registry for people like her who were convicted of abusing children. And you could look it up, like the sex offender registry. I was sitting at home and I said, I'm going to create this online petition because it's the only way I knew how to start stuff. And it was like I said, a grassroots petition, a change.org petition that ended up getting media attention. And Wyatt's prior, everything that happened to Wyatt was not in the media at first. So really, when the media approached me about this petition, it was very scary because I had to then open my life up to this world of the media and the public opinion. And
what was it that made you say, I need to change the law, right? To go
Um,
like that angle.
I I don't know. It was a fire lit inside me. And this is where I would say like divine intervention, like a calling. Like God was like, all right, you have to do this. Like I don't know how to describe it other than that. It wasn't I just knew that I couldn't let another child, another family have this happen to them when this was so preventable. This was so preventable. I initially thought this was going to, I don't want to say easy, but I initially certainly thought that I thought it was a no-brainer. I thought I could go to anybody and they would be like, "Yes, we're going to make this happen." I learned very quickly my time was going to be spent in Lansing. And I didn't even know a lot about Lansing politics or a like I a legislature. And my state rep at the time, her name was Sarah Roberts, and I wrote her, and she asked to meet me up in Lansing in her office, and I did. Took Wyatt there with my dad. Had this petition, and I remember one of her staff members said, "Nothing like this exists in the United States." So we're really having to
Wow.
write this bill out of nowhere, and like kind of knowing what goes into a bill. It's a lot of work. So this, lawmaker Sarah Roberts, she and I, she near and dear to my heart, one of my mentors, one of the people that believed in me. And then she decided, there was another state rep, named Derek Miller, who was a former prosecutor at the time, who actually prosecuted Rachel in a previous case. So
Ooh.
he came on board and was like, yes, this, when I heard about Wyatt, it completely, crushed me, because I had tried to get her that prison time, and again, she had, got slapped on the wrist. So he got involved, and we wrote this legislation out of nothing. So that was such a huge, looking back now, I didn't realize how big that was, but that was huge. We had a press conference. I was like, I was geeked. I was ready to go. I thought just because a bill was introduced meant that it was going to happen. And boy, was I in for the toughest fight of my life.
Oh,
And I had
wow.
no idea. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I remember Sarah Roberts told me that I would have to do a lot of the legwork myself. She said that they could only do so much as lawmakers, but I would have to do the legwork. So that's when I just started going up to Lansing. And I didn't know what I was doing. Like I said, I learned about committees, and from what I understand, and it is the hardest. You'll never get a committee hearing, and I thought I would never get a committee hearing, but I did. I got one committee hearing before this term ended. All I got was a hearing. I didn't get a vote, and then the bills died. And then Sarah Roberts termed out, and I was panicking, but I was like, I cannot, let this go. And luckily, she had known a guy named Kevin Hertel, who was running for her seat. And Kevin introduced himself to me, and he told me when he ran that this would be the first bills he would reintroduce.
Nice.
And that was, and it was with Kevin Hertel reintroducing. The bills were introduced three or four times. So just imagine, like, just all this work for 2 years, going up there, talking to people. It's just for them to die. And it was I don't know how people ask me, how did you not give up? And like I said, it just goes back to that calling, that divine intervention, feeling like I'm called to make this happen. Christine Cadlitz, who is the other mother, of the boy Rachel convicted of abusing, started going up with me too. So it was really great to have her and give her story, because hearing what her son went through, and just how the system failed her son, and then, everything that happened to Wyatt, what's better than one mother is two mothers. So to have her help was just huge. And how many lame ducks we would I'd stand out there on their marble floor in the galley for hours. I would stand out there all day, from the moment they would get into session to the moment they would leave. I think when they finally realized that this woman's not giving up. This woman
She's not going
is
away.
she's not. But that's exactly what somebody said to me. They're like, you don't go away. I said, no, I don't go away, and I will not go away. I said, no matter how many no's, I am going to come up here every day. And the problem was the word registry, and the word registry has just been a very controversial word. A lot because of the sex offender registry, because there were certain things that were deemed unconstitutional. So the last set of bills that were introduced, we decided to move away from the separate registry, because it was just going nowhere. We were getting stonewalled. We were even stonewalled by the state police. They were just, for whatever reason, they weren't going with the idea of it. So, there was another lawmaker working on rectifying the central registry. And basically with that, there were people on the central registry that shouldn't have been on there. It was a list of like 400,000 names. A lot of it was because cases were just not closed properly. A lot of, just sloppy housekeeping on stuff. But I mean, there's definitely people that were meant to be on it. But the lawmaker said, well, I'm trying to clean this up, but I love, we have to keep the people on this central registry that should be on here. And that's where Wyatt's Law came in, and we decided to take the central registry and make part of it public, make the part that I needed to access. But May 5th, 2022, we got it passed, and Governor Whitmer signed it into law, and I had every single legislator say yes to this bill, which is amazing, which is a miracle.
A parent is listening to this,
yes,
right? And they're like, wow, I had no idea that this was even available to me.
Right. Because a lot of people still don't. Yeah.
Yes. So my question to you is it a website people go to? Do people have to call, or how does that work?
So this is how it works. So you and we're hoping to make it a little easier, but right now you go to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services website. You can literally Google search MDHHS or whatever, Central Registry Wyatt's Law, but there is it's right on their website, and it's going to be in the Central Registry section, but you go down and you'll see a section that actually says Wyatt's Law, and there's a form you fill out, and the form is for parents or caregivers. If you have a suspicion of somebody who's around your child, you have to, whatever that is, you fill out that form, and they give you an email, and all you do is fill out the form, scan it, and send it to the email, and then the department gets back to you. If you have a front of the court case, the only stipulation is if you have a front of the court case going on, that you make this request in the front of the court, which I think is great, because that's all I was trying to ask for when I was in the front of the court. Can you just please run her name? So you can, in the front of the court, you can tell them, Wyatt's Law, I want to access the central registry to see this person is around my child, and I'm having these, suspicions. Wyatt's Law now allows me to do that. In front of the court has to do that. So,
beautiful.
It like I said, it's what I'm hoping to work future to where we can get this in an actual database. But this to me is so huge, because again, at the end of the day, I asked myself, would this have saved Wyatt? Yes, 100 times would. And I hope, and that's why I need to spread the word, and I need to tell parents that this exists. I work now for the Care House in Macomb County, which is a child advocacy center, and I am a community outreach and prevention coordinator. So I'm getting to do what I love now for my career, which is just amazing, and I'm so happy and honored to have the opportunity. But even speaking to our team and our team of law enforcement, and any parents that come in, I'm getting to educate them that this exists.
Right.
You have families come in, you can tell them, to access this. So I hope, like I said, I've always said if it saves one life, it was all worth it. And I hope, we've been launched for. Here's the thing that'll give you goosebumps. Wyatt's Law passed. We went through the signing, and then it gets a date for when it's going to go into effect. So the date it was given to go into effect was November 1st, 2022. So that's the date Wyatt was abused on, was November 1st. And they had no idea. There was no, talk about, and I don't, I don't believe in coincidences. Believe God and, all that, everything just lined up. And so it's been 1 year and, that it's been out, and, we just celebrated 10 years of Wyatt's survivorship.
How's he doing?
So Wyatt is doing amazing. He has had but it's been a journey. I mean, for years and years, I mean, he had to learn everything over again. He has permanent brain damage, so he is cognitively impaired, developmentally delayed. He got vision back in his right eye, but he does not have vision in his left. He's legally blind in his left eye, so that's permanent. He has seizures. That this is all that I don't think Wyatt will ever be able to, unfortunately, live on his own and pursue a normal life, but he's happy.
And Erica, if somebody's listening to this and they want to follow, your journey online, learn more about Wyatt's Law and everything else like that, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
They can connect. I have a Facebook group page that's public. It's called Wyatt the Warrior. It's on Facebook. I started it just as a way to keep updates of when Wyatt was initially in the hospital, and obviously it's grown into this huge thing. Wyatt the Warrior is the best page for it.
Erica, I appreciate you so much coming on the show today and telling this rather tough story. But I'm glad, because I think because of your tireless efforts that you have made kids safer. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
For our audience, you can always roll on over to totalmichigan.com and click on Erica's interview to get the links that she mentioned above. And I'm going to remind you, never underestimate the power of a mother's love. We'll see you next week when we talk to another Michigander doing some pretty extraordinary things. We'll see you then.